Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Happy Friday. Let's see. Hopefully my mic is working. Okay, that looks good. Let me know how in the chat if I sound okay, if I'm too loud or too soft. Again, as always, thank you to everybody taking the time out of your day to watch the channel. I do have an exciting show. As a lot of you probably know, I have studied this 3M video forwards, backwards, upside down, for over easily 100 hours researching this videos, or clips I should say, and sound is great. Okay, awesome. And anyway, and as always, it's one of those things where, because I've looked at it so much, and when I always think I've, cracked whatever I can in that video, I take a break from it, and then I kind of look back at it. I always come back to that video, and then all of a sudden, something that was right in front of me kind of hits me. But some of this stuff, actually, there's some things that were like right in front of me that I kind of missed, and then there's others that I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No wonder I didn't see that. And it's very interesting. So, we're going to get right into it. I do got a two-parter here, but the first thing is the 3M video. Thank you guys so much for the love and chat. God bless. I apologize. I had doctor appointments this week, so it kind of messed with my schedule. Next week should be better, and I'll be live this weekend as well. So I do apologize, but I promise you, the wait is worth it because, again, like I said, I try to do the best I can. I'm not perfect. I am flawed, and I do make mistakes all the time. And yeah, let's get right into it. Let's see here. Oh, there's Crispy. One thing I just want to point out, so everybody sees at the beginning of this video, is, so one of my last videos I of course was trying to AI research on these vehicles because I have the surveillance footage. I was trying to narrow it down, trying to give the best information, all different screenshots of the vehicle in different positions, and giving it and because of that night, there was a car parked out in the street. And of course, I know the make and model and year. I was able to get that. So when the car is going, when the car's behind it, or let's say in front of it, right behind it, and then past it, it obviously can, calculate an approximate length. So that gives it an idea. But as we kind of assumed, it was a four-door sedan. And anyway, I just want to point this out before we get to the 3M video. So right here is the 3M on this one. But of course, we're going to be talking about the other 3M video. But of course, this car could be involved. Or at the very least, this person may know or have seen something. But again, since we had this car parked there, I was able to obviously give the AI the dimensions. And anyway, and then of course with having multiple surveillance footage, again, like I said previous, I just gave it a bunch of screenshots, probably 20 of them in different positions. And then of course it just gave me the top 4 choices, and then there kind of been, the main choice, which was at the top. It believes, again, this could be off, but it believes the best possibility out of all the data I gave it was likely a Toyota Camry between 2012 and 2017. That would make sense if they were going to use a vehicle with an abduction, because, like you'd probably want to use a car that obviously is low key and more, maybe this, I'd have to look up this year, but I'm sure obviously if it doesn't have like an upgraded package, I'm assuming if a car was involved, they didn't have, kind of like an Alex Murdaugh case. I mean, maybe they could, we don't know, but like the infotainment, where they can, trace the car where it has GPS in it. And then the next possibility is a Honda Accord. Right there. And I mean, when you look at both the Toyota Camry and Honda Accord, you put them like side by side. I mean, there's just a few minute details that are different between the two, but for the most part, they're pretty close. So I could see why, the AI pulled up these two cars. So, and then we have the Nissan and I think a Hyundai. But the Hyundai was at the bottom. As a matter of fact, when I ran it more, it really just kind of put the Toyota and Honda Accord at the main spots. But one more time, let's see, where is it here? And then we'll get into, go back a little bit. Oh, well, I'll find it later. Wait, is it say? I swear it was just like right there. Oh, there it is. So yeah, Nissan, or actually this is the older one, of course, I gave it. But yeah, Toyota Camry, Honda Accord is at the top, Hyundai Sonata, and Ford Fusion, and then Nissan Altima. But of course, this was before I gave it more information, and then it kind of knocked out the Nissan Altima and the Ford Fusion, and I think it really had the top three is the Toyota, the Honda Accord, and the Hyundai. So, just to kind of put that out there, you never know. Maybe someone that could have been driving one of these saw that. So, all right, let's get going. I'll get to chat here in just a second. All right. So I'm just gonna let the four videos in total play real quick. And then we're going to break these down. And I promise you, I've got new stuff that, again, some stuff was right in front of me. And other stuff, it just going back at it after taking a break from it. And then all of a sudden, something pops out. Then I'm like, oh, wow, that is interesting. All right, so I'm going to let that play for a second while I get caught up with chat. If you can, please hit that like button. I promise this will be a good show. And then we do have some stuff after this as well. But and I got more planned for this 3 a.m. Just because always I'm like when I'm discovering stuff and I try to put it together, for a live, because I spent hours before putting a live together for you guys. But I will do a part 2 on this. I don't know if maybe I might just do a short video because I know some people like that. And I'll explain what I'm going to do when we get to that point. All right. Chat. Let's get to chat here. We got Judy here with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Judy. God bless you. I saw Shining Star. There you are. Gifted a Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Shining Star, for the membership and the gifted membership. Thank you so much for the support. We have Pamela Hill. Oops, where'd it go? There we are. Pamela gifting 5 Mob Crew memberships. That is so sweet. Again, if you do get gifted a Mob Crew membership, if you could thank that person. And thank you, Pamela. That is very generous. And thank you to Melanie, who also gifted a Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much, Melanie. God bless you. Let's see here. Okay.
And then it cuts diagonally
to
the house next door to us.
Right.
Through their back.
Let's break this down all over again, because there's something that I did miss. Originally, after watching this, I had thought, because technically we have what I'm now just going to call the Nick Barris video, which is 1 minute and 31 seconds. Then we have the 3 leaked clips that came out, within a month later of that. And, after looking at them, I had thought in the order, it was the first video that was leaked was part 1, which showed subject 1 moving, and then the Nick Barris video comes in, and I'll kind of explain how I came to that, but I was wrong. and I'll show you guys here. And then there was stuff that I noticed that subject 1 and 2 do that I just, like I said, if you blink, you miss it. And to me, this could be huge. Oh, good to see you, Jills. Oh, God. I have your clip. I played it before, but thank you so much for that clip about the surveillance. Because, yeah, we'll talk about that at the end. Because that's some stuff that I heard about from inside sources. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let me make sure I have it just right so everybody can see it here. And we'll just kind of break it down little by little here. Now, I'll have it first. I'll show the video kind of like zoomed out, you know, how it normally is. And then, you know, I'll kind of zoom it in because I know some people are probably watching on the phone. And, of course, you know, some of these moving lights, even with probably what I have, you know, it's tough to see. So, but I will zoom in and I will highlight what we're talking about, especially if you haven't really seen this. So this is the first video that was after the Nick Barris. This is the first of the 3 clips that was leaked out. So we're just going to call this video clip 1. And it is slowed down. Now this is where in this video I finally realized that something triggers, because now it's playing. As you keep an eye on this, notice how this gets brighter. Now, of course, this is slowed down. If it was playing normally, that would have been just instant. And that is the motion light getting triggered, right? So we'll keep that in mind. And again, I apologize, this is slowed down. But right after that gets triggered here, up in the corner, we're going to see one of the subjects. Now, I originally thought this was subject 1, but it's not. And this is where again, this will be exciting. So here it kind of pops up, and it's moving. Again, it's slowed down right now, so it's not moving at the normal speed because this clip's only 19 seconds. So, you know, if I play it normal, it's going to go really fast. So anyway, there's one playthrough. So obviously the first thing that we notice is the motion lights get activated, right? Now, thanks to Silver's on the Scene, who drove out there in October of last year. We'll play his video in a little bit. He was driving, and when he came around to turn into the neighborhood, he triggered the motion lights, which was huge, because that backed up my theory that it's definitely not in my opinion, it's definitely not the lights, because they're way out there. And in my opinion, and I'll kind of explain why I can back up this theory, is because these lights were moving before this motion light was activated. So if it was the lights that caused it, it should have caused it like 30 seconds before this. And I'll kind of explain that. So motion light gets activated. Obviously, what the hell activates it? Because in this clip, this 19-second clip we have, we don't see anything other than the light moving way out in the background. But when this is activated, none of the lights are moving, right? They start moving right after, which is even a bigger question. The motion light gets triggered, and shortly after, the lights start moving. Why would they do that, right? Unless their plan kind of got foiled and they're in a rush. Yes, Michelle, that is my theory. I strongly believe that the car had its lights off and turned on to the street. And I'll tell you something here in a little bit that even backs up this. And it also aligns with what Silver's on the Scene did. So, again, motion light gets triggered. The second it gets triggered, there's nothing moving. But shortly after, those lights start moving. So here is Silver's in October of last year. This is a Wednesday night. I think like 10 p.m. or so. Now, there's two things to check that are very interesting. Now, one, they did move the sensors in the same spot, but the lights now have switched, and I can tell you exactly why. But notice exactly when he stops and where. Okay, look when. So they're like, oh. Now, keep in mind, he did this video, and I hadn't discovered the motion light thing. I wouldn't discover it till earlier this year. I think so. Or maybe at the end. I can't remember if it was. But yeah, within the last 4 months or so. Three months or something like that. So yeah, maybe this year. Time flies. So anyway, so one, now the motion lights, obviously they weren't there when this happened. They clearly moved them because they had to get a new camera. Because remember, the law enforcement, they took the server, and I'm not sure, I believe probably took the camera because they got a new system. And it makes sense because security cameras up here, it would make sense now to have them have the lights where it's under the camera. So that way, whatever gets triggered, now you have more of a light source facing out of where you're looking. Whereas before, they had the lights right here, right near the motion sensor. They had them on the other side of the home. And we can see this, and we'll take a replay. One other thing. Watch where they stop when they realize they had activated it. This just aligns with what I heard before. And I promise you guys, this is just the beginning. This is just the appetizer. So, watch where he stops when they're like, oh shit, we just activated it. What's sitting right there? If you can see that, okay. I apologize. It's a little dark, but if you can see what I'm circling, that is a mailbox. Now, if you guys remember, we had, I mentioned this so many times, we had a group of people on both sides of the coin speak with the guy last year, and he said, yeah, the car was literally straight across from my mailbox. Yep, that mailbox. Coincidence? I don't think so. Again, the only difference is the light is now under the security camera, which I'm sure they probably were like, yeah, we need to probably have a light source under the camera. So even though now I'm sure they probably have the infrared nighttime camera, but having those lights under that camera obviously will help with whatever, if there was any suspicious activity. So moving on. But what a great thing that Silvers did. I know he tried to do it again, and go figure, he went to try to do it again, and that neighbor, even though it was at nighttime, I'm not sure how late it was. I forget what the time was. Maybe someone knows in the chat. But the neighbor actually had his garage door, was actually working because he wanted to trigger the sensor again. And I think he was going to maybe time the motion light or something like that. But yeah, go figure. The guy was outside working in his garage on something. Oh, you guys got storms? Oh no. Yeah, I hope everything's good. Yeah, of course, I'm here in Utah. I guess I'm blessed with not having to worry about, tornadoes or, crazy weather. We don't have that much here because we have the mountains, of course. Okay, so let me crack chat real quick so I can kind of keep up. Lori, thank you so much for the $4.99. It helps this channel out so much. God bless you. Dawson says, you look like you're feeling much better. Much love. I think MR. I'm not sure what that stands for. I'll look that up. But thank you so much. God bless you, Dawson. And we also have Panda's Bear Mom. Missing 18-year-old from Lake Odessa, Michigan. Or is that Mississippi? Michigan is... Is that Mississippi? 6 foot, 170 brown eyes, special needs, autism, left cards, supermarket. Oh no. Do we have a name? Oh, the name is Devlin Talt. Let me write it down. Tate or Tate? Is it Tate? Okay, Tate. I'm sorry, I thought that there was an L. Devlin Talt, 6 foot. Missing April 21st. Ooh, a week. Okay, yeah, I will write that down. Thank you, Pandas. If I get a chance, I will definitely try to maybe feature him before we leave out of here. Okay, moving on to the next one. Hey, thank you so much for the $1.99. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much. God bless you. Okay, moving on. This is where I got a part of this wrong, and I'll explain. So, when the motion light gets set off, notice the trim of the truck, right? Notice how we can't see, we can only see part of the trim of where the window is starting to go up a little bit. But we can't see the top of the trim where it goes down and connects, right? So we basically can't see this, right? But watch what happens when the motion light gets set off. Voila. Now we can see the trim much better. Not 100%, but clearly much better. We can see the trim. This is very important. Oh, another body in Tennessee. Oh, no. I hate to see that. Okay, it is Michigan. Okay. Okay, so this is video 1, just showing you how the trim gets lit up. We could see... which is now actually subject 2 moving. I originally thought it was subject 1, but it is actually subject 2. Now, this is where things get very interesting. So, we all remember the Nick Barris video. Oh, put your glasses on. Yeah, they're supposed to be... help to protect my eyesight. The only thing is I kind of get the glare. I don't know. I need to clean these. Anyway, yeah, this part I need to put them up for a minute. Okay, so this is very, very important because this is now going to give us more context. Right, so we have, this is just playing the video normally. We have subject 1 kind of hanging out to the right. We see the 2 floodlights from the home. And right at the bottom, which is going to become really important, along with some other stuff. But watch what happens. Remember, this is the white truck. Remember? Now watch what happens. Boom. Can anyone guess what happened right there? Watch how fast it goes. This is very important. Notice, boom, now we see the trim. Before we could only see this. So, of course, you guys are smart. That is because that is when the motion sensor gets set off. So now... that means I know where this footage is in chronological order because originally I had it as part 2. But no, this is actually footage that happens, and I'll kind of explain it here in just a minute. This is very, very important, I promise you. So yeah, this is because the motion light activated. Remember, Nick Barris had the same thing, where it was recorded with some kind of cell phone, and then they zoomed in, and then even though they have a full zoomed out version of it, of course they're zoomed in. And I can tell you there's two reasons why I think they did this too, why they zoomed this in. But then there's more to this, because this is where it starts to get weird. And actually, yeah, it gets really weird. But I think we can make sense of it. So now this tells me, obviously, since the thing gets activated, that tells me that Nick Barris's video starts. I haven't timed it yet, but starts maybe because it's 1minute and 30 seconds, and the first clip that we have, the full view of it, is 19 seconds. So it's somewhere kind of towards the end, that 19 seconds. So the Nick Barris video runs, much before video clip 1, which I got here. And then, of course, it runs a little bit after, which is very important. So here I kind of try to time it where you're going to see when the motion light goes off, you'll see I'm trying to overlay it the best I can. But there's two big issues. Well, there's many more. But so all of a sudden, and again, I tried to time this best I could. I was discovering multiple things. So I'm like, I'm trying to work on as much as I can, but I'll try to clear this up as much as more as I can. They want to show the driver exactly which house security footage came from. Yes. Yeah, and the other thing. But yeah, I agree. Of course, yeah. Early days, they didn't want to. I agree. According to Nick Barris, it wasn't there very long. Okay, so now this is where things get even more weird. Now that we kind of have something in chronological order. Again, I tried to overlay it again. Because I was discovering a bunch of things all at the same time. I didn't have time to really overlay it like I would like to, because of course I'm working with two different possible sources using zooming in and out, or not really zooming in and out, but they're recording the screen and they're kind of jittery and bouncing around, so it does make it a little difficult. But there's something that really multiple things shocked me when now I was able to put this together. And I'll explain here, and I'll zoom it in as well. So here's just me kind of overlaying it and showing you, and I know it's kind of dark, and we will kind of zoom in. Okay. So again, this is Stink Feet's home right here. I believe they either went out the back door. There's even a possibility, I would love to know, because that's a big crawl space door right there. And, I know that there's certain crawl space homes with crawl spaces where they have, a way to get inside the home, like a trap door type thing. Never know. Either way, I think they definitely went out the back somewhere, because they knew that there was cameras right across the street, and of course they had the cameras from the backyard of the neighbor behind them. But if they were to pop out here, with even though these trees were obviously it's winter time, they still would have been shielding them from the cameras. And I promise you, I got much more. This is just the beginning, because this is where I uncovered something that now knowing the chronological order with the Nick Barris video, it really helps. So subject 1 clearly is traveling, in my opinion, at a diagonal pace. And I think that's evident with how the light source is, because obviously if I'm walking to the side, you would think the light source may not be as strong, right, from that distance, even if I had a flashlight, but I'm turned to the side, right? But if I'm kind of going at an angle, I'm still kind of facing that camera. So it still's got that, glow to it, which we'll see the opposite when we get to the end of this. So anyway, so this is where things get really weird and where I caught something. Sorry, I'm gonna have to take these off for a minute. I've been wearing them for a while. All right, so here's me overlaying the video. Now subject 1 is right here, right? Subject 1's right here. Now, it's not like perfectly overlaid, but it's, it kind of bounces in and out to where it's like right perfect. And then it's kind of, like I said, I wish I had more time to just stabilize it. I will in the future, because I really think there's something very, could be big in this. And you're going to see it here. So notice subject 1, and I apologize, and I will zoom in, but right now subject 1's right here. Now remember, I have the video playing almost lined up, right? But there's an issue with subject 1. Oh, thank you, Mike. So I circle it there. Now notice subject 1's all of a sudden just going to disappear, right? And I even have the video playing where it turns on. And so that right when it turns on is basically right after subject 1. But we don't see subject 1 at all over right here, which is very interesting. And I have a theory. And I promise you I'll zoom in. And subject 2 does something else, in my opinion. But yeah, I thought that was really weird. I'm like, and that's why it confused me. That's why I always thought the first video was subject 1, and then you had the Nick Barris video, because it just didn't make sense for subject 1 to just kind of come in and disappear. But this is where I caught something that clearly was there, but it happened so fast. You have to keep an eye on it. So watch, I have subject 1. Okay, so keep in mind, right? So remember, we have this border, right? That Nick Barris and the TV crew or whatever, or Nick Barris's team. So I have this big blue border. We know that there's more security footage to the right. I think this is the top of the video, so there's nothing above. But notice how big this border is below as well. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But notice they also have the border to the right. But we know that there's more to the right that they can see. This is very important. So keep that in mind. Even though we have this border, they can still see beyond to the right and the below. Oh, thank you, Sassy. Okay. It's going to happen right now, and I'll slow it down, but subject 1 does something that it's very fast. So it just did it, and I'm going to slow it down, and then I'm going to compare what subject 2 does. And I'll explain my theory on this, and I think this is very fascinating. So there's subject 2. All right, so here's subject 1 again. Now this is slowed down, right? Now watch what subject 1 does. I'm going to move this over just a tad. Remember, they can see, and you can tell by how even their tracking system that they have, notice how it's still going outside the border. You'll notice it'll even go outside the border because remember, they can still see what's beyond this border to the right and below. Okay, watch what subject 1 does. Because remember, subject 1 disappears. Now, it could just turn off its lights, maybe. But it disappears. But watch right here. And I'll back it up. Watch what it does. Watch the tracking system. Watch what direction it goes. Just before it disappears. And it's fast. Remember, it's still tracking it outside the border. But look, it happens so fast. But it goes to the right. And just before, even though it's kind of pushed into the border, remember, they can still see it. It's still tracking it. That's why it's still there, even though the border's right there. Whoop! It cuts up an angle. And this is just my theory. Now, let's see what subject 2 does. So just to show you guys that, again, they would likely be, because the camera would be even more, a little bit to the right angle, so the gazebo would be a little bit more to the right. So they would definitely be on this gazebo. So it wouldn't be the gazebo that all of a sudden just blocks this, right? A lot of the light we're seeing is, after they're over the ditch. I think my theory is subject 1 goes between the 2 homes. And remember, because the view isn't exactly this. It would be a little bit more pushed to the right, right? So this would make the home kind of push out more. Gazebo would be more over here. And again, you'd have a little opening, but in my opinion, like I said, subject 1 just disappears. I think they went between the homes. Subject 1 did. Now let's see the same thing. And I even have the arrow of where subject 1 went. But notice, and I'm going to do this where I literally just try to get all screenshots. And so it'll literally, this is what I need to do is have just literally take screenshot. And have literally just all of subject 2. That makes sense. Every screenshot of every second. And so you could just see the tracking of it. That's what I'm going to try to do. That's going to take a bit. And I'm going to do that with subject 1 and 2. Just kind of show you the path. But notice, I'm going to leave where subject 1 went. Here in just a second. So if you can see that red arrow, that's the direction. Remember, is going to the right. And then all of a sudden it kind of darted up to the right. Now watch subject 2's direction. Yeah, Kathy, it could be. Yeah. But notice subject 2 almost is going to follow it, but it continues more at a diagonal pace, where again, if I had subject 1, you'd notice that subject 1 starts cutting more to the right, whereas subject 2 is still more kind of at an angle. All right, so now video 2. Hey, Shack Lady, good to see you. Oh, thank you, Shack Lady. God bless you. Yeah, yeah, right, Nadia. Yeah, this is just like I said, we're just getting into the middle of it. There's much more, because remember, I have the scout, and I always thought it was subject 1, and my theory is I always thought subject 1 was kind of like the scout, and then subject 2 was the one bringing Sebastian. But now I almost kind of think it's reverse. Again, you could go both ways, but and I'll explain why I kind of now have switched to where I think subject 1 could have been the one moving Sebastian. I could be wrong, of course. Okay, now we have video 2. Now, video 2 is very short. It's longer than the first video. I think it's 34 seconds. The only thing with this video is it's paused. It plays for a couple seconds and they pause it. Now, I can't see the player, but I can tell multiple reasons, in my opinion. I think there's huge, obvious reasons why they paused it. So one thing to notice right away, if you guys notice there's something, before we look at the car, do you guys see what's going on over here? And we'll come back to it in just a minute. So we got the car, we have the light, and I promise you this will get good, even better. So remember, video 1, this is when the motion light was on. Right? So clearly the car had activated, turned up, and it had its lights off. Activated the motion light. So from now going to video clip 2. So again, that's video 1. Video 2. Notice we can't see the Camaro. I always want to call it the Camaro. The Dodge vehicle, the Challenger, Charger, one of the two, sitting here. Notice we can't see the light. So the motion light is now off. Right? So that means there has been some time passed. Maybe they have it on a minute timer, 2-minute timer. I wouldn't think longer than that. But now, at the very least, some time has passed because the motion light is now deactivated. But we know that car is sitting there, which tells me that they obviously, in my opinion, I think they did want to try to, take him and put him in the car on Stafford, right there on the, intersection there. Using probably the ditch or whatever, but then with the car coming around, it kind of foiled their plan. So I think, and what is the timing, if you think about it? Two things that stick out. Yeah, there is stuff. Again, keep in mind. Remember, it's so tough because again, we don't have the original footage, and I know a lot of people like to try to blow up and brighten up stuff, and again, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But let's get back to what happens in this clip and why. So the viewer clearly pauses the video, in my opinion. I think it's 90% they do this. They see the vehicle turn on. Now remember, we'll get to this light here in a minute. But the car had just now turned on after waiting for the floodlights to kick off. I think that timing is very suspicious. I think they were like, oh shit, we set off the motion light. Now everybody, we've got the scout kind of just sitting there. And I think they're probably signaling to them like, hey, however they do it, of course, we're missing a lot of context. Of course, we don't have all the exact full footage. Maybe they could have, flashed their flashlight, I don't know if they would do Morse code because that would take quite a bit. But maybe they had a signal where, hey, if we, two flashes means, I'm sure they had plan A, plan B, plan C, whatever. But I think it's not a coincidence that we have this person here. And anyway, so the viewer pauses the video and zooms in. Obviously, they were trying to show the car. Unfortunately, and we spoke about this before, the problem was they probably were in a room that was lit up. They weren't in a dark room. And obviously you have light pollution. And even though they said they could see the car in the original footage, I think because of the situations with them using the cell phone and the lighting in the room, and you can see it here. I mean, all this light pollution on the bottom, you can see it. You can kind of see it up here. And again, if you have a TV monitor, and you got different lights on, of course, you're going to get glares. And unfortunately, that's going to screw it up. But I think they literally paused it right after the car turns on its lights. Again, I think the intention was to show the car, but of course that just unfortunately did not happen. And of course, for those that don't know, the homeowner unfortunately was not tech savvy enough to know how to pull footage from his NVR, as they call it. Which is a shame, because it would have been nice to actually have actual clips, because there would have been metadata, and we're going to talk about metadata here in a bit, because this frozen timeline. Well, we'll talk about that at the end, but I promise you, everything that I think that's going on, we're not going to have to worry about this timestamp, and I'll explain why in a bit. There's something else that I learned as well. Chica says, in my opinion, could Sebastian have tried to run off, during the abduction, maybe? In my opinion, I think two things. One, maybe he was... I really hope he was just incapacitated. Two, maybe something more nefarious, But I really hope, it's just, he was... maybe given a drug or whatever, So, again, one more time, this is the video. So, I think there's two reasons why they did this. To show the vehicle and zoom in, which unfortunately just didn't work out. It only captured the lights. But the second is because I think, obviously, remember, the motion sensor light is off right now, which tells me they probably sat there waiting. The second that motion light went off, they kick on the car, right? And then they would have backed up. So I think the reason why they didn't play it is because, obviously, if the car started backing up, then it's going to start curving, and you just get lights blinding, and you would be able to see the car. And that also kind of backs up the theory that this is a car that just kind of stopped for a minute and then drove forward, because I think they would have probably played that, because you might have been able to see a license plate or something, but they never did that. So, again, that's just a couple more theories based on what we're seeing, right? And I have looked at the audio, and I unless there's another audio out there, I mean, please let me know if there's two different audios, because I'll be more than happy to analyze them. The one that was talked about, many, many, many months ago, I looked at it, and here's the problem. This camera did not have audio, right? So for those that don't know, this camera, at the very least, the audio, it could have had audio. Okay, so let me back up. It's possible this camera could have had audio. I guess I could look this up. Here's the issue. The only people that have that audio would be law enforcement. Because remember, all we got was cell phone clips, right? Remember, the homeowner could not figure out how to, like, take a thumb drive and take portions and folders of this footage out, which would contain, if it had audio on this. Again, I heard this camera did not have audio. But yeah, so there's no way there's audio from this clip that's leaked out to the internet unless someone got to the server and it was leaked through law enforcement, which I highly, highly doubt. So the audio would have to come from another camera. Again, so I don't want to poop on anybody's, stuff, but that's just, I'm just trying to give you guys the best, thing I can do with this camera footage that I've researched so many times. So again, going back to this, I think the reason why they paused it is because, again, they wanted to zoom in. As you can see, they're zooming in. And again, I just don't think they realized that the car wasn't showing up, unfortunately. Maybe they thought that, people could brighten it and it would work, but of course that didn't work. But yeah, I could tell you like 99% there's no audio that's coming from this camera. Unless someone was able to, it came from law enforcement. But what I heard, yeah, it's been a while since I've heard it, but it just, I don't know. Okay, now to the next part. Maybe let me take a sip, because we're about halfway into it here. Okay. Yeah, that's been out there. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah. Yeah. Crispy. Joe South says, brilliant work as always, Chris. Thank you so much. I'm always trying to work outside the box, and I promise you I got more. But I really appreciate that. You are looking much better, Chris. I'm late to the stream. We'll definitely watch the full replay. Sending love. Thank you so much, Oz. God bless you. Ooh, that's a good question, Shack Lady. Yeah, I would like to know as well. Yeah, if that crawl space, if there's an entrance into that home. When we worked on the Amber Crumb case in Texas, they did actually have because we're under the house trying to look for a 2-year-old's body remains. We ended up finding animal remains. We thought we had found her, but unfortunately it was animal. But yeah, they had a trap door that went to their crawl space. So anyway, okay. So this is still video 2. Now we're going to look at the light, which I call the Scout. As you guys know that I've called this the Scout, because I think this is some of the biggest evidence. I mean, all of it's big, but this is very fascinating as it's just kind of sitting there, right? Remember, this is just after the motion light had been triggered. Now it's off. The car's about to turn on its lights, and it's just sitting there. Now, of course, the video gets paused shortly after the car turns on, so obviously we don't know if it moves around, but I don't think so. And this still could be subject to. This is why I do think it's possible that subject 1 actually had Sebastian. And again, I thought it was reverse. I thought subject 1 was kind of moving forward to watch out. But I'll have a full complete theory here in a minute. They did. They definitely did. Agreed. So we have one of the subjects, which I call the Scout. And the Scout will come back again in the same exact spot. Now keep in mind, if you look at where it's at, if I were to overlay that Nick Barris video again, and you watch subject one kind of cuts up, which tells me I think it went behind the two homes, which I'll show here in a minute. But again, so we have the car kicking on, and I think this is, the person trying to signal like, hey, we're not going to move, allegedly Sebastian, at this spot because, we're going to set off the motion light again, and, why not go back, have the car back up and go in between the homes where it's super dark. So again, I think they came out either that crawl space or through the backyard, one of the two. And again, even though it's winter, the trees still would have been there. Some were still full. Some others were obviously bare. But yeah, you have, obviously the ditch that runs here. And I do think the car, went up, circled around, and then, of course, because that's what we heard, and so far, everything that we've seen backs up what the neighbors and locals said, from the start. There was a car, stopped, and likely let one or two people out. And now I do think that... Oh, let me play this a little bit more. I think I put them back up right here. Yeah. So again, this is subject one, and I think they go back between the home because remember, I do believe they originally let out here, but I think because they knew it was going to take at least 3 to 5 minutes. That I think one of the reasons maybe the car turned on this could be two reasons. One, that they originally just wanted to kind of run them through the ditch, which would make sense. And the car's just kind of sitting on the corner here. Or the other reason, and you can tell for those that haven't been on this road, the road's pretty narrow. Even though two cars can go by, it's not a very wide road. And... I think it would be kind of sus, because I think they didn't want to just have a car sitting there, possibly on, and then maybe somebody, because remember, there's a DoorDash driver that, if this takes place at 3 a.m., a DoorDash driver is going to come at 3:30. So, they kind of got lucky. It's too bad that driver didn't come earlier. Maybe he would have seen all this, and we would already have answers. And the parties would have been caught. Could you imagine that? It's too bad. If this was at 3 a.m., it's too bad that DoorDash driver, if the guy that called the Uber did get there a little bit earlier, if his flight wasn't a little bit earlier. Maybe of course you can play the what if game. But anyway. So I do wonder if this subject one actually had Sebastian. And I do wonder if there was a secondary person between the two homes. Because it was super dark there. And then we have the scout, who is kind of somewhere, in front of this home here. And then we have the car. And I think, oops, I wanted to pause it there. My bad. So you have clearly one of the subjects, in video 2 where the car turns on its lights, clearly not in the scene. So I think it's between the homes, in my opinion. You clearly have the scout, and you have the car turning it on, which I think they were probably signaling to each other like, hey, we're not going to, try to move him over here because of what just happened. So now I think they're going to back up and, go that way. Yeah, Susan Smith. I know that. I can't think of the case, but I know that name. Mr. B, yeah. Again, in this theory, that you've got to have at least 3 people because you have the driver and you have 2 subjects moving, so you have at least 3 people involved, maybe 4. Again, this case, they screwed up somewhere. Guaranteed. And keep in mind, that law enforcement has this video where they can see the vehicle, right? So they have a lot more than we know. But I think, without having Sebastian, it's going to make it a little harder. Okay, so now to the final part of this, and then I'll read chat here for a minute. Oh, thank you so much.
Time overnight. Since his
So let's just remind people of what Nick Barris, because remember, he saw this whole video, and I'll explain why I think they put up that barrier as well. Or the border, not the barrier, but the borders. Especially if you notice that border for the bottom is much thicker, which I thought is kind of odd, like such a weird border to have.
Time overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area.
And I've explained this before, but there's also another thing he mentions in this. Keep in mind, this is a journalist, and I know, because nowadays a lot of people get their news from YouTubers or just, the internet, not as much as the news. But keep in mind, he's a journalist. He has a reputation to uphold, and so, of course, he's not just going to go make accusations like, and of course I've explained this a million times that, it's pointing towards their backyard. Without, obviously, he spoke to the homeowner, right? He got the footage from the family of the owners. So they know the daytime footage. They know where this camera's pointing. I don't know how many times. I just don't know how the other side, I've seen so many people just, try to debunk this, and it just blows my mind. Like, the guy spoke with the people that had the camera footage. They know where this camera was pointed, what was in the field of view. They had daytime footage, right? So they know where this is pointing. He also mentioned something else that I didn't quite catch before.
Yeah. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame.
Oh, sorry. I have not. I need to get caught up. I was so busy today because I wanted to have a really, good live for you guys. So I do apologize. But one more time, I'm sorry because that message popped up.
Time overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night.
So again, notice how all the border, on the top, the left, it's all the same. But notice how the border, now it could be because, they're throwing, their stuff down here. So kind of blends in. But I also wonder if they did this because obviously they have the full footage. They're just zooming in, right? So they know, remember, so keep in mind the next time you hear it, whenever Nick Barris comes on, remember, he knows about the car, right? Which he's never talked about. But clearly, if he's seen this footage, he knows about the car.
he disappeared. You see two light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes.
Obscured by bushes. So again, he knows, right, that where this is pointing, again, and this is something I missed. I'm like, oh yeah, right there. He mentions bushes with, the trees, whatever, which would be there, right in that spot too, of course, like right in that spot. This is where, the gazebo would be, again, I'm just kind of guessing here, somewhere in here, which is also where all the bushes and stuff, right? And the fact that he even mentions that. And then the most important thing, well, it's all very relevant, but this also tells me, again, he's got the whole, footage. He knows there's the car, but clearly he's never mentioned that, obviously, because he probably didn't want to spoil too much.
Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame.
So again, there's kind of the shot. Again, this would be, the camera would be a little more to the right, pushing everything to the left. But again, there you go. He mentions the bushes.
To briefly appear.
That is hard, right?
Subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame.
Yeah, and that's interesting that he says out of frame, because it literally, again, with the 19 seconds we have with the first clip, we should see where that goes, but it disappears, which leads me to either it turned off its lights. I mean, there could be a couple of variables, but the way it kind of shoots up to the right makes me think that it went kind of between the buildings, the two homes.
Then, subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1 off screen. It's a short time later.
And then the biggest quote ever. A short time later. So now, obviously, the car thing happens.
And it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it. I know, there's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is significant. This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son.
So now we move to video 3, which is part of where right after he says, after a few moments later, and clearly it had to have been a couple of minutes, give or take, a few minutes. Now, the quality we have here on video 3 is not the best, but it's a bit longer. Unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword because it is a little bit longer than his last little clip he shows where the person's running back. But there's also one other thing in this clip that is so huge. And to me, this is like the biggest thing, even though obviously I figured out, some of the other stuff about the Nick Barris now kind of being in the first video. And then again, I'm going to work on subject 1 and 2. I'm going to try to show where they both go. I do think they do split off a little bit, which I'm going to do in my next video. But this is where it's just like, holy shnikes. That door. You're talking about the crawl space? It's a pretty big door. Like, it's like a little kid's, like if you had like, like one of those playhouse, they had like a door, maybe a 3-foot door. for a crawl space door, yeah, I mean, because when you see it from a street view, I mean, the thing looks like almost like a regular door. I mean, we look at that. I mean, look at that. I mean, it looks like a little person, could maybe just come right through that. I mean, of course, when you're looking at a photo, there's, can always be kind of deceiving, but, I've seen crawl spaces about like quarter of that size, well, it's not a really door. It's just, the house is kind of lifted and has certain access, but man, nothing like that. Anyway, but yeah, it'd be interesting to know if there is a way. Okay, now for the final part. And then we got some more after as well. I still have some more interesting stuff. So this is where, again, it's kind of double-edged sword because the footage that we have, even though it's the full view, it's the worst quality out of the 3 videos that got uploaded. You can see the light, but even if, I even ran, kind of some filters. I could run some more stuff to kind of brighten it up. But again, this is just showing the original and I'll zoom in. But of course, this is the video and it's slowed down right now, so it doesn't look like it, but this person books it, right? But this person's not alone. So this also begs the question, right, of narrows down the likelihood of, okay, if this is an abduction, this is where it narrows it down more to is an outside or inside job. And I think this clip is the biggest proof that it is likely an inside job. And we'll talk about that here in a second. So again, as you can see on the bottom, it's slowed down, and here it is in the full screen, but they're booking it. Remember, once again, during the time when that conversation with both sides, right? Oh, you can't see both sides of the coin were there, right? And spoke with him, and he said, yeah, I saw the car right across from my mailbox. He also said, yeah, you notice when you can see because he knew I think the clips had leaked by then. Yeah, the clips had leaked. The clips had leaked long after or before. And of course, obviously, Nick Barris had played it, But he says, yeah, the one where that person's, running back, says, yeah, you can see them jump, right? So anyway, so one subject runs, hops gap, back towards distinct feet home, right? But this begs the question, if this was an outside job, why would they, if they have now completed the abduction, why are they going back to the home? Do they want to go get, Sebastian's cell phone or, his Nintendo Switch? Why would they risk now going back to the home? If this was an outside job, right? I doubt they would screw up that they're already running back and they got their car ready. I doubt that they screwed up so bad that they forgot something. And they're like, oh shit, we need to run back to the house real quick. I hope, nobody hears or sees us while we break into the home. Let's not forget now the door has to be shut, right? Which is now automatically locked. So how in the hell are they getting back in? We know the window, remember, none of the windows were tampered with. So again, if this is an outside job, how are they getting back in, right? So this just kind of tells you, like, but then on top of that, there's more. There's even more. So you can even see the light. Look at that. Look. Remember, this is where that home is at. Let's go to the street view. Remember, the angle would be about, yeah, more like this, right? So you have the two lights, maybe a little bit kind of like that. But you have the two lights, but you see the light right kind of like here. You can see it. I mean, what's what's next to this? Oh my God, it is the Sebastian home. Which actually makes me more theorize this is probably the crawl space, because this is damn close to the floodlights, right? If you look at it, you can see it, after it's, darted across, you can see, now remember, because of our field of view and everything is tilted, it doesn't look right, because it looks like he's person's going uphill. Remember, think of the vehicles, right? If you look at the vehicles, we've done this before. Remember, really, we would need to tilt everything about, I forget how many degrees it is. I want to say like 30 degrees or something like that. Somewhere in that ballpark. So, remember, the person's not really running up. They're kind of more, running across. I still think they're running at an angle, obviously, away from the camera. And that's, again, also another sign that they're running away from the camera, because the light source is not that bright. Whereas in the first videos, when they're obviously coming towards the camera at an angle, they're brighter. But when we see the person that's going away, obviously, because now they're kind of going away from the camera, the light is getting obscured by the body and whatever. And so the light source is dimmer. But again, that's not all. I think so. I mean, oof. Then, just before the clip ends, and I know I've showed this before, but now kind of knowing that subject 1, subject 2 had kind of split up, in my opinion, in my new theory. Again, I could be wrong. I'm going to examine it more over this weekend. But this is the biggest thing that just like blows my mind. So again, so we kind of already answered this. Why, again, if you're this is an outside abduction, why in the hell would you run back to the home, right? How would you get in? Right. Makes no damn sense. Oh, thank you, Michelle. But then, again, I caught this, of course, a long time ago. But now, knowing how they looked like they had split up, subject 1 and 2, I am overlaying video 2 and 3. So this is where, remember the scout that I called the scout, and the car is turning on its lights, right? Sitting right there. Now, when I overlay video 2 and 3, where just after this person has dipped back to the home, just before this video ends, we get a light source that pops up. Of course, because the quality is not the best, it's very dim and easily can be missed. But of course, I've seen this so many times that I'm like, wait a minute. That's subject again. But this is the most wildest thing. This is me overlaying video 2 and 3. So this is the car video. Remember where we just see that scout just sitting there. And this is video 3. This is right after And you'll see it just below it because I wanted to, because if I overlaid it together, you wouldn't be able to see the other one because, again, the light source is not the best. So you're going to see it slightly below. But if I were to line them up, they are like perfectly in the same exact spot. And the reason I can do that is because of the floodlight on the home to the right is right here. As you can see, they're lined up right now almost perfectly. But then I let one of the videos kind of separate so that you can see just after the guy, whatever, runs back to Stinkfeet's home, a light source emits. Right there. Again, I know it's not bright because I'm overlaying them, but it's there. It's only for a half a second because then the clip ends. But again, if I were to overlay them together, they're in the same exact spot, which is wild. And I know I've kind of covered that part again. That's kind of something not really new. But again, that is just so wild that you have a scout, and I think they're just waiting for, obviously, KK to run back to the home, make sure they get in. Because remember, I highly doubt none of these people have phones on them right now, right? And there's probably like a flashlight signal when whoever gets to the home just before maybe they go in the crawl space or in the backyard. They do a quick little, maybe not a full Morse code, but, a quick little flash, say, yep, I'm good. And then we have the scout in that same spot. The car, it's got Sebastian in it. Now KK is back. Then, of course, the scout shows itself, and then of course the clip ends, and that
the night
is all
he
we have.
disappeared, is there anything?
So, and I'll recap if you missed what I went over earlier. Again, I discovered some new stuff earlier. Some stuff I've been over before. Yeah, totally agree. Yes, totally agree. So said the switch was plugged into the TV in Sebastian's room. Interesting. Oh, with the keychain flashlight. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Isn't that interesting that you have flashlights? And here, I'm going to play this clip from Crispy. But yeah, what are the odds of all the things that he took? He doesn't take his shoes, but he takes his flashlight. And of course, then there's a flashlight moving around. Again, I think they were preparing for all the different, scenarios, because they knew they were going to have to use flashlights to kind of get around in this dark area. Now let's listen to Crispy. We've heard this before, but I just want to remind people that may have not heard this. Just to kind of remind, because let me remind you guys, originally, it was garbage truck lights, which was ridiculous. Then it was something else that they're now claiming. And we'll play this clip. Notice Crispy's reaction the second he gets asked about this.
That you think about this video, or
sure. So,
and he does that like, damn, man, like we screwed up, that we had like this perfect plan and got this damn video that's, out there. That's my interpretation. Let me know what you think in chat. But I'll play that again. But I think that reaction is very telling. Oops. To me, it's like, shit. Like, damn, we have that
the
video.
night he disappeared. Is there anything that you think about this video, or
sure. So there's a lot of speculations about that video that are floating on the internet. Okay, and that is exactly what it is. It's speculations. Now, what I can give you an official statement on is TBI NewsLink has released a statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video.
Sorry. I was reading chat and I completely blew it there.
There's a lot of speculations about that video that are floating on the internet. Okay, and that is exactly what it is. It's speculations. Now, what I can give you an official statement on is TBI NewsLink has released a statement from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over that everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one.
So I know I pointed out this before, but again, because I want to come to, their latest theory and then come back to what he just said, because it's so stupid to imagine he's admitting that 4 different agencies, including FBI and TBI, I mean all of them, but FBI, they're all looking at this video.
It's not.
Right.
I'm not going to go into details as far as where that video is shot from.
Of course not, because he doesn't want people to know that it's shot towards his backyard.
But I can tell you, as the parents, we have seen the video from law enforcement, between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, some federal law enforcement, and they have analyzed that video so many times over.
And what did Crispy do, like about a month ago, maybe a little bit less, on one of his, talk shows, that he likes to go on because there's nothing better to do, Why go out and spend time searching for Sebastian when you could just, sit there and troll YouTube? But yeah, it's a guy, along with SF, it's a guy walking out his trash can with a flashlight. That's the new one, right? So you're telling me Sumner County, local law enforcement, TBI, FBI couldn't figure out to interview a neighbor, right? And figure this out to save them God knows how much time, because Crispy makes it. I'm sure he's telling the truth there. Again, Crispy's always, telling on himself. That's the biggest thing. He's a liar, but at the same time he tells on himself. So it's it's great to watch, because eventually they're going to trip themselves, if they haven't already, and it's just a matter of time. But you tell me 4 agencies couldn't figure out some just random guy is walking out his trash can? Get the hell out of here. That is the dumbest thing ever. Again, you've got 2 moving lights, not 1, 2 moving lights. And then the biggest thing,
that everything that everybody is trying to assume is a flashlight, I hate to say this, it's not. As much as we would love it to be one, it's not.
And the biggest thing is they have never, they talk about this, right? But they don't ever talk about the big elephant, this big giant elephant in the room that's going on in between these lights when they're moving around. The big elephant in the room, right? Let me know. Have you guys ever heard them talk about this? I know SF tried to mention, somebody dropping somebody off, but I think he's talking about the 3M car that's driving, down the street. But again, they've always talked about the lights moving, but not this giant elephant in the room, right? This big giant elephant in the room. Car just, kind of wanted to sit, while these moving lights are going on, suspiciously with its lights off, clearly got caught driving with its lights off, capturing the motion sensor. Oops. And then sits there, waits for it to go off, and then right as it goes off, because remember now, the motion light is now back off, right? Because before we can tell that we can see the Dodge, the headlights much brighter, and clearly it got set off, and it didn't get set off by these lights moving, right? Because again, what we figured out today is that the Bears video is actually a mix between this video a little bit before and after. And the interesting thing is when the motion light goes off, again, there's lights moving before, nothing happens. And then what's interesting is when there's no lights moving, that's when the motion light gets set off. So in my opinion, the car is now coming around the corner. And then again, it's probably sitting there like, oh shit. And then they wait until, again, now you can tell that the motion light is now back off, because remember, can't see the Dodge anymore. You can't see the trim on the top of the truck right here as we could before. And now it's going to back up. And then again, you've got this crazy Scout sitting in the same spot when the car turns on its lights, right? Exact same spot. And then if we combine that video with the video at the end after, these random abductors decide, oh, we're going to go, try to grab Sebastian's shoes, and then realize the door's locked or whatever. Again, what outside abductors would kidnap Sebastian and then run back to the home for something, right? Because there's no way they're going to get in, right? But then on top of that, you got this damn Scout in the same exact spot as video 2 and 3, which is I can't tell you how major red flag that is, right? That is a Scout as somebody watching out for people coming and going. And now that person is back at the house, which would have to be, in my opinion, KK. And now the rest of the team, however, again, in my opinion, I know some people, I know one person said 2. I think because, again, because remember, you've got the driver and then you have the 2 subject lights. So in my opinion, you'd have to have at the very least 3, right? But I think there could have been 4 involved. Thank you so much, Annette. So we got a little bit more, but again, it's so stupid. And even Chris, again, you just go back to Crispy's words, like, hello, 4 agencies couldn't figure out some guy's walking his trash can out, yet misses this car, big red flag of a car that's just sitting there, which none of them have ever addressed, which again, if they were innocent, allegedly innocent, you would think that all the work I've done on this would be like, holy shit, yeah, like maybe there was an abduction and, we've always said they just ran away, but now a year later, after kind of thinking about it, like, oh, wow, maybe we should entertain all these ideas because kind of looks a little suspicious with us just saying he ran off when there's, these just major red flags, one after another. I don't know how many there are just here, right? It's insane. Okay, now I'm going to get to something that's very inside. So, I did send over some stuff to law enforcement. Again, am I going to solve the case? I have no idea. It's just to try to push them, nudge them in a direction maybe they've likely thought about, but maybe they haven't. There could be a chance they haven't looked into a certain thing. And so I did send a packet over to all the agencies, and we'll see what happens. So here's another thing, right? So remember I told you that, it's so weird that the timestamp froze on Friday. He goes missing on the 26th, and then that camera's timestamp literally starts working that next day. And I looked up that camera and realized that that was very vulnerable to hacks. But here's the great thing about this camera is that even though the timestamp's frozen, because let's say in theory, maybe they did hack in, right? Which there could be logs and stuff. I'm trying to get, okay. So let's say they did freeze this timestamp. So let's say they couldn't use this in court, right? Because, they could use it in court, but the defense could, have a huge argument saying, well, it says 3/11, February 23rd. He went missing on the 26th. What does this have to do? How do we know? But guess what? There's something, even though that timestamp is frozen, there is something else that they can dig into that they would have. And you know what that is? Metadata. So even though this timestamp is frozen, and I looked it up because this particular system is hooked up to the NTP, which is, what our cell phones are connected to, so even though if the timestamp was frozen, in the metadata, they could pull the, the clips and go into the metadata. And as long as that, now hackers could get into that. It is possible. I did look that up as well. But if they weren't thinking about that, they could go into the metadata and they could literally look and it would have the real time. That's right. So if this was brought to court and the metadata wasn't tampered with, which, is a good possibility they didn't think about, even though this says 3/11, they'd just be able to go, yep. So even though here's this, the metadata says, this was 3/11 on February 26th, and it would have the GPS, it would have everything. So, boom. God bless, technology these days. So, because I do think there's a possibility that they tried to freeze this, and thought, hey, a defense could argue this, with the frozen timestamp and the day that's 3 days behind. But again, in the metadata, it would show the time, day, everything. Brandy says, boom. Yep. And again, I did, if I had time, if this wasn't a long live, I would show that because I did go through AI and of course I gave it, all the specs of the camera and it would do the metadata. Now again, there is a possibility I did look up, they could tamper with the metadata, but keep in mind, the more they tamper with, the more they're going to leave a digital footprint. And so, again, it's a double-edged sword there. Okay, a couple more things to go over. Let me get to chat. I got to take a sip. I'm sorry, guys. Lisa says, Crispy is either bragging or threatening, in my opinion. Oh, yeah. I made him a promise after threatening me. Annette says, love your work, Chris. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you so much. And thank you for the $2.99. God bless you, Annette. And also, thank you so much for the membership. That is so sweet. If anybody donates PayPal, Venmo, again, it helps the channel, but it's not something I beg for or anything. But if you do, please let my mods know, because I literally just reset my phone. And I'm on the second floor, and I have a bunch of ACs above me, so a bunch of metal, and so like I do get messages, but sometimes they're like delayed, right? Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Oh, and they probably have days before and days after, likely. I agree with you. What Nadia says. Yeah, I think without having Sebastian alive or not, and I hope he's alive, but. Yeah, I do think, obviously an attorney or attorney general, there's going to have to be, they're going to have a lot, right? Because, they get basically one shot unless they find Sebastian, and they could have a second shot, maybe, I guess. Yeah, but I think I guarantee they have a case built. I just think they need, just that maybe a little bit more or whatever, Okay, I'm going to talk about this for a second, and then we'll touch on the America's Most Wanted, because I haven't touched on it, and then we'll touch on the surveillance, and then we'll finish up. Okay, because I've seen this pop up on other channels again, and I get emails about it, and there's nothing more than I wish this was real, right? There's nothing more than I wish that this thing was real, that it's some screenshot that somebody zoomed in and, enhanced. But again, one, it looks like it was done from a phone with it being in portrait mode, unless that's just how it was sent to me. Two, why couldn't the same person that whoever did this, how come they can't zoom out and show us like, what the hell is all this big giant white stuff, right? Like, if this is supposed to be the car, why, like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is this all white down here? I'm sorry. I cannot tell you how much I wish this was true. It'd be that easy of people shoving, poor Sebastian in a trunk. But the fact that nobody can show, like, how they got to this point, how come they can't show, like, a zoomed out version? Like, is this supposed to be from the 3am video? Like, again, like, why does the car look like this? Why, this doesn't make sense. The white, like, if this is a car, all this white, that doesn't make sense at all. No, I don't think it's real. I could be wrong. And I hope I'm wrong. But I'm just giving my 2 cents. You guys know how much I've looked at all the footage that's out there, and I've ran different filters, and I don't know. I don't even think it's AI. I think somebody just zoomed in on something, ran something with their on their phone with a filter, and just played around. Because I get screenshots all the time where people try to, I know they're trying to help me, but I've told you guys that this footage, you can even see it here, which is really interesting because I do wonder. Let's see, where is it at? Right here. I know it's a little hard to see. Notice, I almost think what they did is, I don't know, this is one of my theories, is they super brighten this up here, and you can kind of make like half a body out. But remember, all this is light pollution. I told you guys, we did a video on this a long time ago. All of this down here is light pollution from somebody recording a screen, and they got their lights on, and this isn't in the actual video. All this little ghost stuff, right? So I do wonder if that's where it came from. Again, I pray that I'm wrong, but nothing to me, it looks like, this being a vehicle. This doesn't look like a zoomed in vehicle. Like, this looks like a giant vehicle. Like, compared to the tallness of Chris and Katie, allegedly, like, I know it'd be zoomed in, but like, I'm sorry. Again, don't let me, I'm just giving my 2 cents on it, but I asked the person that sent it to me. I don't know if that's the original person that made it, but I asked him, like, hey, can you show me a zoomed out version so I can know, like, what's your source? Where's this coming from, right? That should not be very hard to do. But that's never been done. So until somebody shows me a zoomed out version of that, sorry. I think it's phony. I wish it wasn't. I really wish it wasn't. Okay. Last 2 things. God, look at Crispy and the way he's looking down at Katie here.
That was the last time that I spoke with Sebastian.
It's like, oh God, what is she gonna say? Oh my God, what is she gonna say?
The next morning, when I went in his room, he wasn't in his bed. After a minute or two, when I couldn't find him, I called Chris and I said, I can't find Sebastian. He's not in the house.
I got off of work and I had a text message from
I have an interesting story to tell you guys.
Sebastian's stepfather.
And I said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but Sebastian is missing.
And that's a lie right there. Unless this was like later on. But remember, the first message was, I hope you're not mad at me. Hope you don't get mad. Something like that, right? In the text. Please don't be mad, right? Something like that. Instead of, hey, have you seen Sebastian? Right? Wouldn't that be the first thing? If they had nothing to do with it, they'd be like, hey, have you heard from Sebastian? Right? I know I'm not the first one to come think of that, so I know other people have already pointed that out a long time ago, but, yeah, don't be mad. That is so just like, what?
I headed straight over to their house.
I started driving through the neighborhood. I was panicking. I was looking.
So, I have a photo of Katie. Yeah. She reenacted this not long after I released the first photo of her driving through the neighborhood with her windows up. And I think it's so funny. Here she is literally reenacting exactly how she was probably doing it, except she claims she's looking around.
Everywhere. Like, where is he? What happened? Did he go with someone? Did someone take him? By the time I pulled into the school, Christopher was already telling me to turn around because the authorities were on their way.
But again, remember, the authorities don't get alerted until 6:33. Of course, we'll have to pull up the timeline. 6:33 of course, we'll have to pull up the timeline. even when she's in the neighborhood, she's still like a minute behind. If she's at the school, that's like at least 3 minutes behind that. So how do they know? And then if they're on a 3-way call, and I get it, there could be 2 different ways of a 3-way call, but if you're on a 3-way, wouldn't she be able to hear what Crispy is saying to this whatever sheriff or whoever he's calling? And so wouldn't she just know? Unless it's a 3-way call where it's like she calls him and then he kind of puts her on mute or whatever, and he's got like a second phone going, or God knows, or if he puts her on hold and then does a separate call, But again, the timeline doesn't add up there.
They use drones, they use ATVs, horseback.
An extensive they had found
Booths are really analyzing. Is putting something in his pocket.
surveillance.
And
not dad.
So, of course, I know most of you have seen this, but the thing that makes it very interesting is all of them come to the conclusion that it's foul play. Even though they've only looked at this case for like 5-10 minutes. I know out of the 4 of them, Derek actually has covered this case. Sometime last year, he did an episode on it. And of course, he was very suspicious of the 3 a.m. video. Very suspicious of the 3 a.m. video, the lights video. But yeah, all of them, give their points, obviously. But yeah, they all think it's foul play. And they haven't even, really deep dived. Could you imagine if they actually deep dived this case? Holy shnikes. But this was so disappointing, really, though. I mean, it's great to get his name out there, especially like America's Most Wanted. But I don't know. I was not impressed. All right, one last thing, guys. Do I have it? Okay. Just got to play this one more time and we'll finish up. Is that what it is? Is that a zoomed in ruckus? Oh God, I hope it's not the zoomed in ruckus. I'll have to look at the ruckus and zoom in. The ruckus is not real. I'm sorry. It is not real. It is not real. These people would have to be giants. I've done videos on that. These people would have to be giants to be moving around, and I don't know why they would be fighting in front of the floodlights. Like, that would be the dumbest thing. Like, why would they be, none of that makes sense. Again, that was done by a certain creator to get clicks and views, and what on them. All right, last portion. I'll never get over that name. I love The Office so much. Every time I see that Scranton Strangler, good to see you. Oh my God, it cracks me up. Office is as far as comedy, that is like my number one comedy sitcom.
Pictures and a video.
Oh, what the fuck?
Language, couple F-bombs here. Again, this is Jules, who was in the chat. I don't know if she's still in the chat, but we played this last time. There's one thing, I don't know why it didn't hit me, but I just got to play this again because this also will go with stuff that I've heard that I'll talk about.
Yeah.
No. What the fuck?
So this is Jules and Crispy speaking, and they're talking about one of the former PIs and how the former PI showed up at the house, started taking pictures, and let's listen.
Oh, yeah, and this is why wasn't on your property. Well, hold on. He turns up a day or two later to my house. Walks up to the front porch. Doesn't ring the doorbell. If she did, it never rang because we didn't have one. So.
Right.
But my wife's boss and another coworker in the house, and we are upgrading our security system.
Yeah.
But she's...
Now, I've heard so much back and forth.
Where the hell did that damn doorbell go? Now, of course, me, because I'm thinking about the upgraded system, so I'm thinking about the stuff inside. I'm going to be honest. The whole ring cam thing just went like way over my head, even though she's right here talking about the ring camera and stuff. Well, she's talking about everything, but in my last show when I talked about that, it didn't even hit me. Like that, it's a ring camera. Again, because I was just so focused on the upgraded system. But my God, like, again, Crispy, as always, just telling on himself. So let's play that one more time because it just, oh my God.
Pictures and a video.
Oh, what the fuck?
Sorry for that,
yeah.
Bombs.
No. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, and this is why I wasn't on your property. Well, hold on. She turns up a day or two later to my house. Walks up to the front porch. Doesn't ring the doorbell. If she did, no, well, it never rang because we didn't have one. So.
Right.
But my wife's boss and another coworker in the house, and we are upgrading our security system.
Yeah.
But she's
now I've heard
so obviously upgrading means you are upgrading a previous security system you had in your home. You don't say, yeah, I'm upgrading my security system by just getting, you're going to say, yeah, I'm getting a new home security system. Clearly screws up by saying, yeah, we're upgrading our security system. And I'm going to tell you something because I know it's just been it's already been out there for a long time and speculated. Even Nina said, like, hey, like, wasn't there cameras inside the home? And all right, got a little headache there. Anyway, I spoke to someone that's pretty big in the influencer world that, I'm not going to say which place that this person does their content on. But they went in the home and they saw some major red flags with the security system, and I wish I remembered everything. I did write some stuff down, but it's probably buried in 100 pages of stuff that I've written down. But anyway, they had noticed that, and I'm assuming they were seeing the upgraded security kiss system maybe getting installed at that time. And I'll just leave it at there. But yeah, they went in the home and saw some red flags. That did include the security system. I'm assuming it was probably at that point the new one getting updated. There's one more thing. Oh God, sorry, I got a headache in between my eye, or like right behind my eyeball, so it hurts. Graded ring camera. Oh, there's one more thing. That's to do with the previous camera. Oh my God, I can't think of it. Let me get to chat and then maybe I'll do it. Oh, yeah, let's do that real quick before we do anything else. And I'll get to chat and we'll finish up here. Let's see, make sure I spell it right. Devlin Taint missing. Okay. Let's see. Is that a better one? Yeah, that's a better one. So missing Devlin Tate, pictured here, 18 years old, went missing April 21st. So about a week and a half. Let's see, who went missing near Lake Odessa. Oh gosh, that's scary. Let's see. So he's 6 feet tall. That's good. So obviously, if he is out there wandering around, man, there's nothing else there. If you have any information, call 616-527-0400. Poor guy. Let's get is that a picture of him, like, is that him? That does look like him. Yeah, it looks like him. Yeah, that's him. Okay. Was last seen on surveillance video of Carl's Market downtown. Was supposed to be just another Monday. A routine walker left home for a trip to the store. So he's going to the store. Didn't think anything of it till 10 o'clock. He has a goofy personality, brown hair. Is diagnosed with autism. I can't say that word. Palsy. Tourette. Oh, and he's got Tourette syndrome. This poor guy. And fetal alcohol syndrome. I like in his pictures. He seems like he's pretty happy and probably functioning.
Certainty Software has been using collections on V7 Go to extract line items from 20-page
Cerebral
job site
palsy.
inspection reports.
I don't know why I couldn't say that easier.
New tonight, the family of a missing Lake Odessa teenager is hoping someone knows where he is. Devlin Tate was last seen April 21st on surveillance video at Carl's Market downtown. 13 on your side's Kiara Patterson spoke with his family.
Do they have the surveillance footage?
Juliet, Devlin's family says his disappearance has been a complete shock, and they're hoping someone can help bring him home.
Heartbreaking and gut-wrenching.
That's how 18-year-old Devlin Tate's family describes the past week and a half.
Our family is going through a living hell that I wouldn't wish on nobody.
It was supposed to be just another
Aw.
Monday. Devlin, a routine walker, left home for a trip to the store. But this time, he never returned.
I didn't think anything of it really until like 10 o'clock hit, and then I was like super worried, especially when I went to places and couldn't find him.
Is that a sister?
Then my heart just sank.
Sabrina Cook says her nephew was last seen the morning of April 21st on surveillance video at Carl's Market in downtown Lake Odessa. He's 6 feet tall, weighs 170 pounds, and was wearing a black sweatshirt, white t-shirt, jeans, and cowboy boots.
He's got a goofy personality, brown hair.
He's well known in the community. He frequents Buddies on the Beach, Carl's, Penny's Pizzeria, the laundromat.
Devlin is diagnosed with autism, cerebral palsy, Tourette's, and fetal alcohol syndrome. He's now been without his critical medication for over a week.
no.
His family is working closely with police, but with no solid leads. They're asking the public to check security cameras and report anything that could help. With his 19th birthday,
Looks like he's very high functioning. Maybe they'll release the security footage. Be interesting to look at that. See if there's any clues. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, my heart breaks for the family. God, that poor kid. I mean, he seems like with all the stuff he's got diagnosed, seems like he's doing really good. That's such a shame. Nub Fisher, hi. No one asked them what they said to law enforcement on the phone. Is there a way to get the recording? No, and that's the really, yeah, the missing doorbell. Yeah, the Ring camera. Yeah, missing. Yeah, again, that's Crispy kind of telling on himself. But thank you, Nub Fisher. I'm sorry, let me come back to you, but. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why it's like such a one of the many red flags. Like, why wouldn't they just call 911, right? But they didn't. Joni? I think it's Joni. Thanks, Chris. Thank you so much. Joan. God bless you. Means the world for the support. Thank you so much. Yeah, why do they all... I'm assuming you're talking about like the photos at the release of Sebastian, right? That's a huge red flag. Michelle says, let's help Chris match up to support. Let's help Chris match up to support Chris. I appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for the $4.99. Lakeside Lawyer, good to see you. It's portrayed the key players inaccurately, in my view. Probably responding. Oh, Derek Lasser? Oh, I bet he got a bunch of opinions. I know he's covered the case, so he knows, like, compared to, like, the others, you know, I doubt Elizabeth, well, I don't want to say Elizabeth Smart hasn't, but I think if anybody out of those people on the panel there for the America's Most Wanted, of course, Derek knows the most, in my opinion. Who's her mama? Thank you so much for the $4.99. God bless you. I appreciate the support. Oh, thank you, Kiki. Trying to get us up to 1,000 likes. That's awesome. I know. The things that he says, and I hope the people that are responsible, one day it's going to come back to haunt them. Sandra D, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. God bless you. She wasn't picnicking. She wasn't panicking. Her windows were up. Right. Thank you, Marissa. 100%. Okay, I think I got caught up there. All right, guys. We went 2 hours. I am going to finish it up there. I just want to say a huge shout out to my wonderful mods, Copper Horse, D, Sensei. I know sometimes Jennifer kind of runs in the background. But to all my mods, thank you so much as always. Especially when they have thousands of people in here. I wish I would have been able to get a little bit more chat. I'm going to try to... So, I was going to recap, but I think because we went 2 hours, I'm not going to do it this time. But I am going to work on... The biggest thing I want to work on, because, like I said, one of the things that really stood out to me is the fact that Subject 1 and Subject 2 appeared to take slightly different paths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally take I'm sure there's a way I can do it like faster, but I know a slow way too, but literally screenshot. So you literally see Subject 1's trail all the way from beginning to start. And then I'm going to do that with Subject 2. And I really think, because remember, I slowed it down, and you see Subject 1 shoot up this way. And again, and there's 2 red flags with me with that one, because, again, even though it goes into the border here, I can't see it in this footage here. This is Subject 2 now. And, you know, now I have learned that the Nick Barris video kind of starts before this video 1 and ends after. It's just kind of a longer version of this video. And anyway, yeah, Subject 1 just disappears. And so I do think it probably went between the 2 buildings. That is just a theory. Also, we hit 1,000. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for hitting that like button. That's huge. Margie, thank you so much for the $5. Yes, Jazz. And that's the thing, is it's not if someone will slip up. They probably have already slipped up somewhere. It's just trying to catch it, right? But yes, I agree, Jazz. Yep, they could slip up down the road as well, somebody. But at the same time, I'm sure there's somebody that slipped up way before that. That just needs to be, you know, the light just needs to be shine on it. So, thank you, Soldier Girl. Wonderful name. Thank you so much. Good job. God bless you. I don't. Maybe I'll do. Hopefully, I'll try to get a video tomorrow, and then we'll do a members. I'll probably try to do a double, like a regular live and a members live Sunday. So definitely Sunday, big stuff. Both shows for the members and regulars. And I do have some other stuff I'm working on as well, so maybe I'll have that for Sunday. Again, if anybody donated like Venmo or PayPal, thank you. And if I missed it, I will try to let you know. Yes. Yes, thank you, Beth. Yeah, I love Pincho, what he's done. Amazing. Thank you so much, Chicky. There's ways you could. I think you'd have to just do a little research. I think. Oh, gosh, I need to look that up because last time, and it's been a year. You had to go through. You couldn't use YouTube. You had to go into like Safari browser and then go into YouTube that way. I don't know. Maybe iPad's different. I could be wrong. Okay, I got everybody. All right, guys. Much love. I'm going to do a pet outro just because. And then we're going to work on pet outros as well. I watched YouTube channel verified pics of the Proudfoot home. The surveillance cameras when Sebastian went missing and then after missing, the same spot above the man door gone. The man door. At the home? No, I don't have Cash App. Cash App's weird. Maybe I'll have to try to sign up again. It's weird. Like Cash App like banned me or something. Like it's weird. Not like permanent. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know. Like it's weird. I don't know. It is weird. I'm feeling much better, meme. I still got a little road, but yeah. But thank you guys so much. All right, let's do an outro, and we will see you guys definitely live Sunday. God bless you guys.